Disqualified, thrown out, wiped from the record books. 2 top finishes, gone. And for what? A few millimeters. That's all it took to turn McLaren's Las Vegas dream into a nightmare. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri crossed the line as heroes, 2nd and 4th in the glitzy Nevada night. But hours later, they were called to the stewards. The ruling: both cars were illegal. The reason? Excessive skid plank wear. Just a few tenths of a millimeter below the 9mm minimum. That's all it took to bring their weekend crashing down. To the outside world, it might sound like a technical detail, but for the drivers, it was gut-punching. This wasn't just about losing points, it was about losing trust. Trust in the team, trust in the process, trust in their title fight. Oscar Piastri didn't hold back. Disappointing to come away from this weekend with no points after an unfortunate disqualification due to skid wear, he said. With how close the grid is, we're always looking at where we can gain performance, and we didn't get it right this time. And Lando, even more blunt. A frustrating end to today, he admitted. We had to do some managing towards the end of the race, and now we know it was due to some issues on our car, which have unfortunately resulted in us being disqualified. It's frustrating to lose so many points. You can hear it in their voices: frustration, disappointment, maybe even a touch of fury, because they didn't crash, they didn't break down, they drove perfectly, but McLaren let them down. The floor of their cars, the skid block, or plank, had worn down too much from hitting the track. That's illegal. Full stop. And this wasn't just any race, this was crunch time in the championship. Norris came into Vegas leading the title. Piastri was chasing. Verstappen, lurking. When they crossed the line, Lando's lead had jumped to 30 points over Oscar, with Max 42 behind. But when the FIA ruled them both out, everything changed. Lando's lead shrank to just 24 points. And now, Verstappen is level with Piastri, with just 2 races and 1 sprint to go. McLaren team boss Andrea Stella tried to explain. During the race, both cars experienced unexpected, high levels of porpoising not seen in the practice sessions, which led to excessive contact with the ground, he said. In other words, the cars were bouncing more than expected, hitting the track too hard. That wore down the skid blocks more than they predicted. But that doesn't make it okay. Not for the drivers, not when they're fighting for a world title. McLaren's job is to give them legal, race-winning cars, and instead, they gave them machines that broke the rules. Stella apologized, repeatedly. We apologize to Lando and Oscar for the loss of points today, at a critical time in their championship campaigns after 2 strong performances from them all weekend, he said. He insisted the breach was unintentional, that it was caused by accidental damage found after the race, that they're investigating why it happened. But damage or no damage, it still happened. The FIA made it clear, this wasn't a grey area. The cars failed the post-race checks. The skid blocks were too thin. The rule is 9mm. Norris's plank was found to be 0.07mm and 0.12mm too thin. Piastri's? Off by 0.04mm and a brutal 0.26mm. In Formula 1, that's enough. No points, no podium, no mercy. The McLaren drivers handled it with class, publicly, but inside that garage, you can bet emotions were boiling. Norris, trying to win his first world championship. Piastri, still in the fight, both losing massive ground because of something they couldn't control. And while McLaren tries to put a brave face on it, the damage is done. Piastri said it best. We now need to reset, refocus, and push to get the best points possible in the final 2 rounds. But it won't be easy. The mood is tense, the trust is shaken, and the fight just got a lot harder. Las Vegas wasn't just a gamble for McLaren. Crash of confidence, and now, with just 2 rounds left, the consequences are unfolding faster than any of them could have imagined. Let's talk fallout. Norris, once comfortably ahead in the championship, now has Verstappen breathing down his neck. 24 points. That's all that separates them. And with a sprint weekend coming up in Qatar, that gap could disappear in a single session. Verstappen's win in Vegas didn't just score him points, it cracked the championship wide open. And Piastri, he's now tied with Max, clinging to hope, but frustrated that he's fighting with one hand behind his back. What's worse, this wasn't a driver error. It wasn't a crash. It was the car, the setup, a technical detail that McLaren got wrong, a detail that cost them everything. The team says it wasn't on purpose, that it was unexpected, high levels of porpoising, and possibly accidental damage that caused the cars to slam into the track harder than in practice. But that's not an excuse that wins you titles. That's an excuse that gets you disqualified. Andrea Stella, to his credit, owned it. While this outcome is extremely disappointing, we remain fully focused on the last 2 races of the season, he said. But that doesn't erase what happened. Not for Lando, not for Oscar, not for fans who watch their Vegas results vanish like a mirage. Behind closed doors, this is shaking McLaren to its core. Drivers train every day for perfection. They put their trust in the engineers, the strategists, the mechanics. But when that trust is broken, when they do everything right on track and still walk away with nothing, that's when frustration becomes fury. And let's not forget the optics. Norris was seen backing off in the final laps. At first, it was said to be a fuel issue, but now we know the truth. He was managing plank wear, trying to keep the car legal, trying to balance performance with risk, and it still wasn't enough. It's frustrating to lose so many points, Norris said. As a team, we're always pushing to find as much performance as we can, and we clearly didn't get that balance right today. That's about as close to criticism as you'll hear from a driver in public. Behind the scenes, that line's probably delivered with a lot more fire. And here's what makes it even more bitter. Piastri's disqualification may have actually helped him in the standings. If Norris's second place had stood, he would have gained 6 points on his teammate. Now the gap is only 24 instead of 30, but that's not a win. That's salt in the wound, because both of them deserved points. Both of them fought tooth and nail in Vegas. Norris recovered from a lap 1 mistake. Piastri clawed back after a rough start. They crossed the line with pride, only for it to be ripped away in post-race checks. And now, they're heading to Qatar, a track where McLaren has shown speed, but also a track that demands absolute perfection. No room for setup errors, no margin for floor miscalculations, no time to play catch-up. There are 58 points still up for grabs. 2 races, 1 sprint. A championship fight that just took a sharp left turn. The question now isn't just whether Norris or Piastri can hold off Verstappen. The question is, can McLaren regain the trust of its drivers and the edge they need to close out this title? Because, in the high-stakes world of Formula 1, one mistake can end a season. And in Las Vegas, McLaren didn't just make a mistake, they made one that could cost them the whole championship. So we ask you, was this a freak accident? Or a sign that under pressure, McLaren's title push is starting to crack? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned. The final chapters of this season are going to be chaos.